Major new studies have revealed even higher levels of cancer-causing chemicals in America's drinking water, as well as all over the planet. As you know, I handled the first case ever tried dealing with this issue up in the Ohio River Valley. Our team tried 5 of them in a row, back to back. The defendant lost every time. That was DuPont. But this case is really about 3M, isn't it? 3M made a product, PFOS, PFOAS. There's a variation of the chemical, but it's all bad. It's all bad. The science is overwhelming on this issue. What is your take on what's developing right now?
What's developing right now, we're finding out from all the most recent studies over the last 12 months, is horrifying. Right, this is an issue everybody needs to be aware of, because we're looking at a situation right now where more than 200 million Americans, possibly all Americans, are drinking regular drinking water contaminated with these PFOS and PFAS chemicals that are known endocrine disruptors. They cause cancer. They can exacerbate asthma, make it more likely that you develop asthma.
Worse than that. This is birth defects.
Right.
I mean, the cases we tried up in the Ohio River Valley, I tried everything from cancer of the kidneys, cancer of the testicles. There's birth defects issues. Here's the problem. 3M knew about this within the first 5 years that they made the chemical. They hid it from about 1955 up until the mid-90s, hid it from the EPA. Their own documents showed that they absolutely knew that this chemical that's used, it's ubiquitous, Farron. They use it on frying pans to make Teflon. They use it in clothes to make waterproof clothes. They use it in Scotchgard. They use it, the place we're seeing it the worst right now is military bases use it as fire control.
Right.
In other words, they'll spray down an entire runway because of planes coming in, and they want to make sure there's no fire risk. What happens with that is it moves off into the aquifer, and then it becomes part of the drinking water. It's right now, if we look at where this is, it's in the environment for 1 million years. 1 million years. So if it goes into a riverbed, it's there for 1 million years, even if the water's fresh. Even if they try to take drinking water and to filter the drinking water in a particular area, it comes back because it's in the soil that moves into the aquifer.
And what's also terrifying too is it's not just what we're learning now is it's not just because it runs off and soaks in. We're learning that this stuff is evaporating with the water, and that is one of the major ways it's traveling all over the world. This latest study from this summer was looking at water samples from the Arctic Ocean. You know, not exactly a huge human population there to put this stuff in the water, and it's there in alarming numbers because it's evaporating and moving all over the globe. Yeah, and that makes regulation so hard. Is it's hard to regulate evaporation and rain.
Well, I mean, here's the real problem. It's what we call biopersistent. Once it moves into your body, it's biopersistent. Once it moves into the environment, it's biopersistent. That means it stays. It's going to be there. It's bioaccumulative. Each and every exposure to this product, PFAS, PFOS, increases the level of your exposure. The half-life on just ridding this from your body is 5.4 years. That's the half-life. And that means every day you're around this drinking it, your cancer burden increases, risk of birth defects increases, risk of gastrointestinal, bad gastrointestinal problems. They've just really started understanding how badly it's affecting the human body. But when you take a toxin and you make the toxin biopersistent and you make it bioaccumulative to where each and every exposure adds to that threshold, you've got a big, big problem. I don't see an end in sight on this. I mean, I'm the guy handling this litigation all over the country, and as I look at what the government's doing, EPA's running away from it, aren't they?
They are, and that's another terrifying fact about this story. And that's not just today the EPA's running. EPA ran away from it in the 90s, in the early 2000s. They're running away from it today. They always have.
And the problem is this never degrades. It's always the same molecule today. It's going to be the same molecule 1 million years from now. Thank you for joining me, Farron, okay?
Thank you.
A Supreme Court ruling will allow the FCC to loosen media ownership rules, paving the way for even more media consolidation. Rosita Santos joins me now to talk about the details of this. This is really kind of a nightmare, isn't it, Brigitte? This ruling is the final say on the issue of what does it mean for consumers. That's the suffering. The consumers are going to suffer because of this way I see it. What's your take?
Yeah, the unanimous decision overturns a lower court ruling that blocked the FCC's 2017 repeal of media ownership regulations. So instead, this new ruling cements that 2017 decision, which eliminated a 42-year ban on cross-ownership of newspapers, television, and radio stations in a given market by a single entity. So for consumers, this means less competition, fewer local news choices, and less diversity of information and ideas. We already have a problem with monopolies in this country, where just 6 companies control 90% of our media. This decision could consolidate media even further, which could, of course, increase media bias and lead to the suppression of information that just a few parent companies may not like.
Well, you know, this is actually being equated, the impact of this to Citizens United. This is actually being equated to, it has that kind of impact for our culture. And to put it in perspective, 1980, there were, almost 60 individual, privately owned or corporately owned, but 60 media outlets. Now it's down to 3. So now we're going to have NBC that owns your TV, they own your local newspaper, they own your radio, and you're only going to want to hear what NBC says because that's all you're going to have available. This is a win for broadcasters company. The money is going to just pour in because of this decision. Bill Clinton, if you'll remember, started this whole thing when he opened the gates for media to buy. He started during his presidency, and now it's just gotten worse, hasn't it?
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of companies that support this decision, obviously. They include Fox, Sinclair, News Corp, ABC, NBC, CBS, and more. They say consolidation is going to help ensure the economic survival of local TV as advertisers increasingly shift to competing digital media companies. And back in 2020, Ajit Pai, then chairman of the FCC, claimed the rollbacks were going to empower struggling local news outlets to thrive in the modern media landscape. But in 2017, the FCC also tossed out a rule that banned TV stations in a single market from merging unless 8 independently owned and operated stations remained in place. It also canned the main studio rule, requiring TV and radio broadcasters to maintain local stations to act in the interest of the local audiences they serve. Without these rules, local reporting jobs are drying up, especially in rural communities. These rollbacks have proven that media consolidation is not empowering local news, but instead allowing companies like Sinclair to create a national political narrative, and that's incredibly dangerous.
We're going to hear one voice, and it is the voice of what the folks that own these big networks decide we should hear. Matter of fact, how ridiculous is it, Brigitte, for them to say that, digital, that we don't have any control over digital. If you watch this video, behind this video is going to be, everything behind it is going to be NBC, CNN, where they're in the digital market too. They're out there just like we are. It's going to create a lack of diversity that's going to be startling to the average consumer. How might this impact public trust in the media, which is already awful, where you have, last number I saw was 80% of the public, 80% believes that corporate media is a total failure. That's why they're cutting their cables. What's your take?
Yeah, this obviously is not going to help that. This year's Edelman Trust Barometer reveals that trust in traditional media has declined to historic lows, and a fall 2020 Gallup poll shows that Americans' confidence in the media to report the news fairly, accurately, and fully has been on decline for the past decade. So this decision is likely going to continue and worsen that trend.
And don't think that social media is going to step in, because they're getting control of social media as well. Brigitte, thank you for joining me. Okay, I feel like we have to do several more stories on this. This is an important topic.